Hey folks, Chris Temple at the National Investor here with you, and also I'll be the MC and moderator at the upcoming Strategic Investment Insights Conference. Pretty quick now, folks. It's May 6th and 7th, Friday and Saturday, at the Lincolnshire Marriott Hotel, as you see on the screen here. We're going to have about, I think, 16 different companies in different industries that will be exhibiting. We're going to have two panels. One of them is going to have my good friend here, Rob Kientz, on with us on Friday evening, our macro panel. Rob, I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we have a great lineup planned for people.
You know, talking about that lineup, a lot of you that know me or known me for a while and aren't seeing me for the first time know that one of my pet peeves with investment conferences generally is they've become too predictable. There's people out there that have got a certain theme or a certain angle that they continue to promote. Nothing about getting new people there, nothing about speaking to the dramatically changing world that we have right now. And one of the reasons I sought out Rob to come to this is that first and foremost, we're going to talk about two different hats really that Rob wears. But first and foremost, Rob, with his platform Gold Silver Pros, is one of the new kids on the block, so to speak, where precious metals specifically are concerned. He's got some dynamic content. He and his team, Jennifer Rankin especially, they build up a really good following on social media. And when it comes to precious metals, we'll lead off with this, Rob. You're making this sector relevant and understandable, and if I think I have to add, less hokey than some of the old guard of the Pied Pipers of the gold bug echo chamber, as I call them. Tell us what prompted you to start Gold Silver Pros and a little bit about it.
So I had been in the tech industry for about 25 years, and that's really where I'm educated. I have a master's in cybersecurity, and my last corporate role was securing Verizon's 5G network. I was one of the lead risk management analysts on that. And I've been in technology for a long time. At the time that I started really getting into economics was 2008, 2009. I was working for Ernst & Young doing consulting and audit work, and I ended up getting laid off from my job. And I said, okay, I'd done everything right. I'd gone to college, I'd gotten the degrees and got the big corporate job. But I saw something while I was at Ernst & Young that really kind of woke me up. I was doing projects in the mortgage industry during the mortgage crisis. So I saw it from the inside out. And the project that I had was we were supposed to take a company that had gone out of business. It was Novastar that had 52,000 loans. And they hadn't serviced them correctly. And we had to basically rebuild that portfolio and get it in line with legal requirements. So I ran that engagement and I ended up looking at everything having to do with the mortgage market at the time we're going through this crisis. And I'm like, you know what, that really blew me away as to what I saw and how things actually worked. And it wasn't what you would typically think. So anyway, I started writing. I wrote for about 12 years. I was on Seeking Alpha. I got syndicated to Yahoo Finance and a bunch of other places, Financial Sense and other outlets. And I'm an analyst by nature. So I like to analyze things and write about them. But then a lot of my friends are like, you have to get on social media to tell your story because it's a broader platform. You can reach more people. So that's what we did at the very end of 2018. I just started doing some very basic stuff and it kind of grew. And in the last year, we've grown quite a bit. And I think the reason we've grown quite a bit is we bring a little bit a different approach to analyzing the markets. We look at it from a data-centric perspective. I'm a data guy, a data geek, a computer geek, if you will. So we look at it a bit differently than maybe some of the old guard does. And so our opinions can differ sometimes from other people, but it's all data driven.
Well, and that's important. And I think it's important too, Rob, and I'll give you kudos for this again, that you're making this space relevant. I mean, too many times, look, we just had gold several weeks ago tag its old nominal all-time high from the summer of 2020. Before it fell back down recently as we're recording this somewhat. And yet you still don't see a lot of retail investors coming to this because what happens is the 99% of investors out there who don't have an automatic affinity for gold and silver, they nevertheless will see a headline that gold is doing well. They talk about it every day on even CNBC and Fox Business, and they think, oh, gee, I should look up and Google, you know, how I invest in gold. So they Google gold, and one of the first things that comes up, and I'll be polite, not mention names, is some crackpot idea, well, at 4 o'clock on such and such a date, the US dollar is going to cease to exist. It's going to cause the dollar to crash. You got to run out and buy gold. And everything that they see out there from the promoters in the space sounds like the crazy uncle with a tinfoil hat at Thanksgiving dinner with all his conspiracy theories. There are sensible reasons why people should, especially now, be looking at the gold and silver space. We've had a false start recently for a new resumption of the secular bull market that started ever since gold became a market asset again 50 years ago. And it's going to take off one of these days, folks, but you got to understand how to do it and why to do it. And, Rob is, we're really happy to have him come to the conference, to be on a panel, to make this space relevant, again, to the masses of investors who properly are put off by some of the nonsense that has long populated the precious metal space. But even beyond that, Rob, and what really endears you to me is that you've created a second platform recently, a second outlet. I was privileged to be on one of your first broadcasts where you go even farther. And this is what we're doing at the conference as well, to cover all different kinds of sectors, not just precious metals, but other broad macro things, societal things, other investment themes. And again, in a dynamic, media-friendly way to make these things and a lot of troubles really in our world relevant. Tell us about the new venture.
Yeah, so I actually got started investing about 20 years ago in real estate. I ran, while I was working full time, I ran 2 real estate investment companies in North Texas. And that was based upon research I'd done on how to build passive income and how to build other streams of income, which I think is important to people. I think you want to be careful limiting yourself to only one stream of income. I've always been at that school that you always diversify yourself and pick a few areas in which you can become very well versed in investing in. So real estate's always been a love of mine. I'm getting back into that field now after being out for a couple of years and looking at some different investments. Also, I was a licensed broker for many, many years. I had a Series 3 license, 6 and 63. And so all the major investments you think about, I work for a currency broker and for a financial market broker. So, and I did that to learn how to invest. Really, for me, that was more education on how to invest more than it was I wanted to do a full-time business. But I did it because I needed to learn how to be financially educated. So, I've done stocks, I've day traded currencies before. I've done a lot of things in my past where I have a lot of experience with different investments. So what we're doing is we're starting Financial IQ Television, just came out a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about different sectors. And what we want to do is add a podcast for every vertical that we can talk about. And then at the end, once a month, sit down with a table of people and say, let's talk about all of these and let's talk about changes in the environment, what's coming up, what our predictions are. So that people kind of have a one-stop shop, because I don't think the mainstream media really does that for you. And I don't think if you go to social media, you're going to reach 20 different sites, right? And you have to try to put together the pieces. What we want to do is kind of put that all in one place for people so they can get a little bit more well-rounded approach on what's going on in the asset markets.
Nice. Well, and it's especially critical right now. And this is why you're doing what you're doing. We're doing what we're doing. It's what this conference is going to be all about. Some people have already heard me say this, but I'll repeat it again. The week before Easter, there was a big ETF conference down the road from me down in Miami. And Bob Pisani from CNBC was covering this thing. And his characterization, not mine, his characterization of the 2,000 elite investment advisors that were there is that they're terrified. All of a sudden, things don't work anymore. They don't just close their eyes and throw a dart at the ETF page in Barron's and go to sleep at night and sleep well thinking that Jerome Powell's got their back. That's done for the time being. The Fed has got a very different political imperative right now to try and douse some of this raging inflation inferno that they first created. We've got the reversal of globalization. We've got supply chains going from bad to worse in the world, now being made even worse still by all of the sanctions because of Russia's war against Ukraine. So all of these things out there you got to throw every playbook that you've got as an investor and even as an investment advisor, throw them away and figure out real fast what this new landscape is. And I'm glad you've got Financial IQ TV to do that. And Gold Silver Pros, we've got strategic investment insights to do that. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun and do a lot of good together, Rob, in helping people understand this new landscape. It's, look, I started doing this in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
And there are changes afoot now that even dwarf what we were dealing with back then, when we had the peak of the high inflation, and then everything got thrown into reverse by the first act of Paul Volcker, before the second act of Paul Volcker led to the boom and bust asset inflation we've had in the years since that time. So the different world, you got to get your head around it, folks. So again, here on the screen, make sure you register for Strategic Investment Insights. We'd love to have you there in person. A lot of good companies, a lot of good people like Rob, a lot of good food and camaraderie with your fellow investors and investment professionals, as the case may be. But if you can't make it in person, make sure that you sign up and register to get the virtual presentations, which you will have sent to you directly if you can't actually make it to the show. So Rob, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you know, we're in the vanguard, buddy, and we got a job to do, and it's going to be fun to do it. Thanks much.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking so forward to the conference. So it'd be good to see everybody come out and get back into the in-person conferences again. I think I'm really going to enjoy it.
It's been a lot of fun. I've managed to go, of course, being here in Florida, I've been able to get to a few things so far this year. Just last week, the Noble Conference downstate, and it is good. I mean, technology enables us to do a lot of these things virtually. That's not going to go away. I think it's been strengthened permanently by what we all went through with all of the lockdowns and things like that with COVID. But there's still something to be said. You know, we're social animals. And it's still nice to get out and shake hands and have a cocktail, have a meal together, and learn from people that you can, you know, look them right in the eye in person. So Rob, see you in 8 or 9 days from now, I guess it is.
All right, we'll see you there.
Take care.